Thank you so much. Well, I'm really happy to be here, and I have to admit it's thanks to Bayat to that I'm here today, and it is such a pleasure. And I've been working with Jan over the last couple of weeks as well, and with Marina and Radosta. So it's a pleasure. Really happy to be here. As you know, the title for today, Uncovering Your Superpowers. I'm here with Marina, and ready to just have a nice afternoon with you all.
Okay, well, super. Thank you, Jody. Well, let's kick off with why this title of superpowers. Tell us all about it.
Well, I think it's I think it starts with over the last year. I've got, about, I would say on average 7 out of 10 of my clients that seem to be looking for purpose, that have spent some time during this whole pandemic questioning where they're at, and trying to find some strength and resilience. And so I really have the convictions that when you know your unique foundation and what makes you different, that's really what gives you strength and what gives you your power, and you just need to honor it. And I'm not sure that everybody knows how to honor their unique foundation. So I thought about uncovering superpowers so that everybody feels energized to unleash their superpowers.
Okay, well, Jody, tell us about your superpowers, but also how long it's taken you to reach this international coach status that you now have.
I guess in a nutshell, when I step back and think about my own superpowers or my foundation, it starts with, coming from Michigan and having this really interesting revelation at about 5 years old as a little ballerina. I had a little case where my ballet shoes were, and on the case there was this Eiffel Tower. And I was always really intrigued by where is France and what's the Eiffel Tower. And from Michigan, not a lot of people during my young generation were traveling abroad. So that all started something with this passion and interest in France. And then, as you can see from the big picture, I come from a huge family. And if you ask anybody in my family, the 2 words I think they would describe me was someone who asked too many questions and was interviewing all the time. And so little by little, when we put these pieces together, as you'll see in the presentation today, the bricks, I think little by little, there's just no surprise that I am where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about becoming an international coach. Living in Paris, from Michigan.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, becoming an international coach, if you had told me 30 years ago there was a field called coaching, I would have signed up, because it really just suits me. And today in my business, I spend a lot of time helping people find out really what makes them come alive and what makes them tick. And as an international coach, one of my favorite things is working with these global teams and trying to understand the beauty and uniqueness in the person and in the global team and collectively.
Okay, well, tell us something about, well, first of all, how would you define resilience, Jody? And then what does resilience mean to you?
Well, I'd say resilience, I like this quote by Shirzad Shahin, finding the gift and opportunity in each adverse situation. And I think resistance is this quality to be able to recover from adversity and trying to use the opportunity to grow and further develop. And so today, what I hope to accomplish with everybody is showing them a tool that I use, that I know many of you on the call today probably have your own really interesting tools. And if we had more time, it'd be really fun to exchange on that. But today I just thought I'd share something about what do I use with my clients to help them build on their special foundation, their special uniqueness, in order to give them the motor and the extra charge to find fulfillment.
Well, what about a chance for our participants? I see we're 44 online. A chance to participate in a Zoom survey.
Hey, I think it'd be really fun. It'd be fun to launch a Zoom survey. So we're going to launch a Zoom survey. Jan is going to, you'll see it on your screen. And what I'm curious to know at the beginning of our talk today is how after the last, let's say, 14 months of this pandemic, how has your overall level of professional fulfillment changed since COVID started? And you'll see in the poll, you just click one and then we'll look collectively at where everybody's at today.
Okay.
Jan will launch it.
Okay.
There we go. So you've got 8 choices of where you're at today.
Well, I'm going to add my number to that. And I'm trying to quickly add up the numbers to see if everybody has posted their vote. Perhaps a few more to come in, but
we have 32 out of 39 at the moment.
Okay, great. Okay,
and some might be on the phone, and it's a little bit more difficult. So
yeah,
I think we're getting to the end.
Okay.
Maybe I should share the results.
Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
That's pretty positive. Positively impact was the 25%. Okay, that's interesting. And that's not negatively impacted. Not so many. So that's really, that's really interesting. So having this positive impact and being able to maybe have the time to step back and think about where people are today, and wonder if there's any surprises. If you put in the chat any of your reactions, if that surprises anybody, it's interesting to see that. Okay, well, thank you for that. What do you think about that, Marina? Does that surprise you?
Well, I must admit that I also voted positively, but I'm very surprised to see just how, but this is all about coaches having superpowers, Jody.
Indeed. Indeed it is. I'm going to just advance to here and
okay, if we can take that off the screen. Well, Jody, come on, tell us something about resilience. What are the keys to resilience?
That is a great question. If you look at the study from Positive Psychology, they did a study after 1 year of the pandemic, and what they found is people that were resilient had many of these factors that were present. And maybe some of them don't come as a surprise to people, but there was something constant where people who felt like they came out stronger from having this break, let's say, of the normal life. They had many things in common. And for me, what I wanted to focus on today is the last 3. Having a positive attitude, having good self-image, and having confidence in your strengths and abilities. I really believe that as a coach, this is where we come in. This is where we shine. This is where we really have a value added in boosting these superpowers and boosting resilience. And I think that's going to be interesting to go a little bit deeper in today for today's discussion.
So yes. So here we are, Jody. On you go.
Well, it's building on resilience and building on these key factors. One of the things is being able to step back and think about the experience that we've had so far. So as we go on today in our discussions, we're going to see how taking into account key moments in your career and key moments that were turning points for you, actually becomes part of your strong and firm foundation. And to give everybody the gift today to be able to step back and to be able to think about what's the moment in my career that was really a turning point. So if everybody just gives themselves the gift to step back right now, take a pencil if you choose or a pen and write down, in my life, if I think of a moment where there was a turning point for me professionally, what was that experience? Try to think about it. What did I learn about myself regarding these three things, these values, which values were showing up, which passions were showing up, which talents were showing up, and then which strengths were showing up. So I'm going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to give yourself this treat to step back and think about a moment in your career that was a turning point. So we'll just be silent for a couple of minutes while everybody thinks about that. Feels good to step back and think about something that in a good way or a bad way, but it was definitely a turning point that made us wake up to something. Another minute.
And as you say, Jody, even when things come along that are unexpected and perhaps initially negative, is the point of Shirzad Shamin's comment, which is finding the opportunity and the gift in each situation.
It's true. It's true that in the last year as well, it could be difficult, but there could be a silver lining in there. That because it was difficult, we learn more about ourselves and true. And so, you know, now that everybody's taken a couple of minutes, if you chose to do so, just to think about, you know, what was showing up at the time and what was being honored or not, and how was that a turning point? I think that leads us into this whole big question of what is my why? How does that help me figure out what is my why and my purpose?
So why is purpose so important in life, Jody?
I think I'm going to say this really, I guess, basically and bluntly, but I think the purpose is our motor. I think it's our engine that keeps us going. And when you meet somebody that has really identified their purpose of today, I don't think the purpose has to be stagnant. It can be my purpose today, but they're unstoppable. Unstoppable when that's clear. And you know when you've met somebody that their purpose is clear, they know where they are and they know where they're going next. There's something about the power in that I find fascinating and have always found fascinating.
Well, I'm already feeling the inspiration that's coming from what you're saying. So let's go on to the talented Mr. Sinek.
Love it, Mr.
And what about this quote, Jody? What's the impact of this on you?
The impact of this on me is over the years, all of the people that, not all, many people I coach, and I don't know about everybody else, you know, if you find the same thing, but so many people are kind of living in autopilot. They're not necessarily really clear about where they are right now and how they got here. And when I came across this quote, I was really thinking, it's true that when you really are living your life on purpose, and when you know your strengths and your talents and your passions, you know where you're going next and you know where you've come from, that's where the true fulfillment comes from, is really celebrating and honoring this, where we talk about superpowers and where we talk about resilience. I think the key is here. Am I where I want to be because I chose to be here? And am I choosing where I want to go next? I love it. I think it's a great summary of my convictions for sure.
So how would you define purpose?
Purpose for me is, I think one of the keys is how do we contribute to the world celebrating our uniqueness? How do we best contribute? Where does that engine and motor come from? And by uniqueness, I mean, when it's clear to me what I really love, what my talents and strengths are, and what my values are, I feel like that unique combination is what gives me purpose. And when we can see that in ourselves, we can help see that in others. As kind of, you see the compass in the background, and that's not by accident. It's really this compass of giving us direction with conviction and with confidence. And it's so powerful to step back and reflect, I think.
Well, here's another chance to reflect. What about if we ask our participants to join us on this with yet another Zoom?
We're going to do another little poll. And what I'm curious to hear from everybody is when you talk about your why or your purpose, where you're at, I'm really curious to know, how often do you think about it? Are some of you in the audience, you never think about it? Do you sometimes think about it? Do you think about it once in your lifetime, or every time you're fed up with the job? So let's launch that poll, Jan, and see what comes up.
Oh, the wonders of modern technology.
Yes, this is the time you should be really cool and say everything works, but it seems like I have a slight problem getting it to work, and I don't know why. I will do a short investigation.
Okay, just take a minute.
See if I can.
I see Karen is saying that she lacks a bullet on her. Here we go.
Yep, there we go. And okay, so there we go. How often do you reflect on purpose and why? So every time I'm fed up, sometimes, never, frankly, being honest, sometimes.
I see Karen is suggesting that she's missing the bullet to say regularly.
That's a good one.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah.
That is great. Regularly. I like that one better.
For showing up.
That one.
Yeah. And Adam is also adding, he's laughing in his yeah, there are quite a few people. I see Bjorn. And here we've got a great one. Dennis is saying daily. Karen, thanks for that. You've created a tsunami of support for that. Great, thanks.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Daily is impressive. I cannot say I've met somebody thinking about it daily. That is impressive. So sometimes at 77%, that's pretty impressive too, huh? Yeah, it's interesting. And then every time I'm fed up with my job is really what I find in my coaching. People are fed up, and either they never thought about it, or they quickly want to start thinking about what brings them satisfaction. And nice.
Yeah, when they feel that they're backed up against the wall there. Oh, let's think about, what could be my purpose? So, Jody, what are some of the signs that someone is seeking more purpose?
Well, yeah, there's definitely signs that I think a lot of us would agree on. Some of the ones that come to mind is when somebody's bored. They just tell me, is this all there is? It seems like something's missing. They seem irritated, or they seem restless. They might be creating some conflict in the workplace or even at home. I find that they're also looking for purpose when they change jobs a lot. When we meet people that seem to be constantly changing jobs because Is this all there is? Is this all there is? Is this all there is? And they just seem so restless on this hamster wheel of, I can't see myself doing this for the next 20 years. They also seem to be going through the motions, again, going back to this autopilot. They're going, going through the motions. And that's why when I think about what's an easy way that we could help people to not be stuck on this hamster wheel of, I don't know how to get off. And I want more meaning and fulfillment, and I want to get back to my strength and my purpose.
Yeah. So how can people uncover? Can they discover their superpowers? How would we go about that?
Oh, I think if it's simple and easy, people will do it. I think if we give people a very complicated formula and say, here's a really complicated formula, why don't you think about your purpose more often? Nobody will find time for it. And falling back on the autopilot seems like a much more interesting option than going through who am I, what do I want, and all of that. So yes, to answer your question, definitely yes. And this is where this model came up for me, brick by brick. And it's not a model that I've created over the last year. It's something that I created a long time ago, but I've used it so much in the last year, which is why when Beate called, I was thinking, you know what? This is probably something that I could show everybody, that I use as one of my, I guess, best practice to help people have an easy way to take a look at where they are and figure out what their next move will be. And I'd love to share it.
Would you like to walk us through it, Jody?
Yeah, I would like to walk you through it. And here's where you're starting to see this notion of bricks. And for me, the idea of bricks is all about the foundation that we are laying for ourselves and connecting our personal strengths and experiences, kind of like a brick. And it's also this idea of a pyramid where we're growing and we're trying to hit a summit. We're trying to reach something, taking into account our natural strong foundations. So if we look at this and we say, okay, what do I need to plant? What do I need to have underneath me that's firm enough to give me some strength in order to grow? Where do I want to grow? How do I want to grow in order to reach something even bigger than what I've reached up until now? So this idea of growing, and it doesn't have to be, I'm aiming to be the president of my, country, for example. Reaping the fruit of the labor can be self-satisfaction. I'm just becoming a better person. I'm becoming more aligned with who I am, or I'm aiming for something really ambitious, like, running something or, taking on something bigger. So this idea of 3 steps or 3 parts is something first that I find simple. If I think about foundation, I think about how will I know my foundation's working? And then I think about what am I aiming for today? What am I trying to achieve today? I think that just keeps it more clear for me as a person and also for me as a coach, just to keep it in sort of a process. And I use this, I guess, metaphor of the passion fruit. And so for any of you, I lived in Brazil, had the great opportunity and experience to live in Brazil. And one of the things I think is fascinating is to see these fruit trees that have this amazing, beautiful flower that are the signs of this passion fruit coming. So I hope everyone's had an opportunity to try passion fruit, because it's pretty powerful. I don't know if everybody agrees, but I love passion fruit. And I wanted to use this, kind of as a metaphor to the model. And so today I'd like to use Leif as an example. And Leif is a young boy in this picture here. And as you see, he's a young boy, a teenager. He's got a few bricks already in his foundation. He aims at a few things he'd like to achieve in his teen years. And he is excited to aim to be 18 and go off to uni and use some of his successes of his short life. He goes off to uni. You see there's more bricks. He's added more bricks to his foundation. He's had more wins, and now he's aiming toward his job. He's going toward his career. He's starting off in his career. And then you meet Leif when he's in his, he's in his mid-30s here, maybe he's 40. Here's his foundation. It's getting even bigger. He's added a few more bricks. He's had a few more wins, you can see in the middle. And he's got even a bigger passion fruit, or a bigger win for him. And so step by step through his life, brick by brick, the foundation is growing. He's getting even stronger. His foundation's getting even firmer, more firm, and more wins that are helping him achieve things that he is finding purpose in and fulfillment. All the way through our lives, where in my conviction, purpose never stops. This is Leif when he's, in his 80s. He's got this big foundation now because he's had a whole life starting from when he was a young boy, built onto that foundation. And now he's at, let's say, the last chapter of his life. He's adding a brick still. He didn't stop growing. He's got some wins. He is aiming toward, in my example of Leif, he still wants to, he wants to dance. He wants to dance. He wants to be the best dancer where he's living. And the brick by brick model, I think, is also with this notion of past, present, future. When I don't forget my past, when I remember the here and now where I'm at right now, I can help project my future a lot better, which boosts my resilience, boosts my superpowers, and gives me that desire and motor to aim higher. And I feel like if you don't take the time to take stock of where you've come from, what makes you unique, what makes you different, it's very hard to get really excited about your purpose. So that's kind of the background of it.
So thanks for taking Lee through the brick by brick process that we see here. But what about in a professional context? What about sharing, an example from one of your clients with us?
Okay. Well, I chose Anne as an example because I do think that whenever you see a model, it's obviously nice to see an example. And here we've got Anne, and she's one of my clients. And Anne, I think she's about 41 years old. And so some of her bricks that we put together, that we came up with, she's been a marketing director. That was one of her experiences. She was also a CFO. You can read in the bottom what I'm reading. She's lived abroad. Her skills are finance and marketing. She speaks 3 languages. She's good in strategy. Her talents is that she speaks easily to people. She's a networker. She connects people together. She's passionate about travel, collective sports, and she values hard work, courage, and she dares to teach others. So this is who she is right now. We take stock of this in the beginning, and we say, where are you now, Anne, that you're seeking something more? You're looking for your resilience. You're looking for your purpose. And we decide what would be the best brick for Anne in order to move forward and continue to expand her foundation. And she comes up with this idea that one thing she doesn't have under her belt right now is to become more visible in women-centric initiatives. She realizes that that's part of who she is. That's something that's missing for her right now. And so this new brick is born to expand her foundation. How will she know? So this is trying to identify, how will she know that she's used the best combination of her foundation in order to have tangible output? And so this is where in the coaching, we talk about how will you know your foundation is showing up? How will you know you're not wasting many of the bricks in your foundation? And so she came up with these 4 ways that she would know how her foundation is showing up and how she's not wasting any of the bricks that she's planted over these last 41 years. And so she wrote these things. I want to be elected to a board for a women's charity. I want to be rated #1. And so you can see turn profit into into positive double digits, and put women, put in place the winter mentoring program. So this is how she knows, how she feels at this moment in her life that she could apply those. And what's her big fruit? What's her big passion fruit that she's aiming for? She would like to become a CEO of a company that specializes in, embracing women in all angles of their life. And she achieved that. So it was just really interesting that when she was driven by purpose and when she did not ignore her uniqueness and her firm foundation, she was able to dare to unleash some of this exciting superpower and resilience. So that's my Anne, who's really inspiring, definitely inspiring. And before she worked on her foundation, she hadn't realized all the pieces that come together to make her who she is. She hadn't realized it, and it was by looking at it that she was able to say, I can do this. I can do this. This is giving me confidence, and I can do this. Yeah, so that's Anne.
So thanks, Jody. What about your own progress using this model?
Yeah, my own progress. I try to do this when I think about finding my passion. I try to do this every time I feel like my foundation's really firm and I need to shake it up a bit and step out of my comfort zone. An example is coming here today and thinking, I speak to people all the time, but I don't speak with coaches all the time. So this is stepping out of my comfort zone and adding a brick to say, I'm going to come out of the closet with my tool that I use with my clients, and I'm going to dare share this with a lot of people and see if it can be helpful to a lot of people, and stretching myself. So yeah, I definitely try to use it too.
Okay, well, thanks, Jody. Shall we now give the participants a chance to try out the brick by brick model?
Hey, I think it's a great idea. This is another opportunity for everybody to take a step back. It takes a little bit of time to do your brick by brick model. And if you signed up today to learn something new or to just be exposed to something, it's great to take advantage of this time and step back and say, okay, if I'm taking a picture of myself today and where I'm at, think about listing your bricks. What makes up your strong foundation? What are some of the experiences that have changed you for the better, moments in your life? You've already got one brick from the first activity of self-reflection, a moment, an experience in your life that was life, it had a big impact on you. What are some of your technical and behavioral competencies? What are some of your talents, some of your values, some of your passion? List as many of those out as you can. You might have more bricks to your foundation than is drawn here, but that's okay. That's good. And then if you could put some examples of when you know that many of your unique combination bricks showed up for the fruit part, and then maybe something that would inspire you if you dared. What would inspire you to dream bigger, and make a bold challenge for yourself? And if you spend a few minutes on this, it'll be great, because afterwards we're going to have an opportunity to go out in breakout rooms and talk about it. And so when you talk about your own brick by brick model and what that looks like for you, it's going to be interesting in the subgroups when you have time to talk about concretely what it means for you and how it builds resilience and superpower. So let's take a couple minutes. Take a few minutes, and this will take a few minutes because it's not, we can't just snap our finger and there it is. So take a few minutes and do your model. so that you're ready for some nice, rich discussions in the breakout. This is where we need Jan to play his guitar or something, no? Play some music for everybody while they're reflecting quietly. Or not.
So, Judy, can I ask you a question here about when you're working with clients using the brick by brick model? Classically, how many sessions would you work on this? Is it a one-off consultation, or is it something that you're going ahead with over several meetings?
Typically what happens is in a beginning session, I'll talk about the model and how it works. And then they'll go off between a session and think about it and work on it and come back, more like the example of Leif, where I would ask them to think about a few key moments in your life and where you think you were at that point. So they think about it, and then they come back and we start building from there. So it's kind of a base that we would use. Typically, we would do coaching sessions, 8 or 10 coaching sessions, but this is something that starts to be the beginning of what am I trying to achieve for tomorrow as the nice common thread for the coaching.
So it's a tool within a coaching series.
Yeah, it is. And some other uses too for it. I use it also with teams to try to figure out the strengths of the team. What are they trying to achieve? What are some of their wins? So that's, something I would do more collectively, but individually, nice to have a lot of self-reflection and kind of own this unique foundation. And I've never ever coached somebody who had the same bricks as somebody else. And that's the beauty of our difference. I've never met anybody that had exactly the same background or experience. And that's, maybe the part that I love about coaching, the special uniqueness of each person and what drives you and what helps you come alive. Yeah. So we're just going to take another couple of, I guess, seconds here, and then get a little bit of feedback from the audience.
Ready to go?
Yeah, ready to go.
Okay,
Perfect.
so
Yep.
folks, how was that for you? Was it easy, hard? I'm going to invite you to put your comments in the chat. Any comments coming in for the moment?
How is that for everybody when you have to think about yourself in your own model?
Well, we have. Well, thanks, Karen, for kicking us off there. Karen is saying she needs more time. She needs more time. Dennis is saying that he uses a similar structure, a similar model, and he says he loves it. Rados is saying, "Oh, this is easy because I've been regularly doing this exercise for the last year." Somebody who's been making the most of of COVID. Elizabeth is saying, "Great, good exercise."
Nice. I would say for most people initially, it's not something that they can do really quickly because they don't remember how many incredible things they've learned along the way until you really take a step back. And today it's just I think it's just and getting, a little initiation to something that we all probably do as coaches, but trying to put it in a simple model to help explain it to people
Yeah.
who aren't as familiar, with coaching tools like, many of us on the call are.
Well, Elizabeth is saying it's great to have it as a visual, and being visual myself, I get that. So Karen is asking us just to ask and clarify: is the foundation static or different depending on the goal?
That's a great question. For me, I love to imagine that by the end, with the man who was dancing, Leif, who was dancing at the end of his last brick he wanted to add and be a great dancer. I like to imagine everything we're learning in our life forms us, and that foundation just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger. But it's true that some categories might start to merge. And the brick has maybe a few names to it when I'm doing it in practical terms. We might have a brick that has similar skills or experiences if they've overlapped. A great question.
Rados is saying it's really, really hard the first time. However, and it may be a bit confusing and a bit overwhelming, but she's a bit smiling about all of that. Needing a bit more time. Again, it's a bit like physical exercise. If you've ignored it for a while, it's a bit stiff, isn't it? What else have we got? And Marianne is saying, I like how simple it becomes to connect the dots through this model.
Nice.
That's a thumbs up for that, Jody.
Super. Okay.
Anything else anyone would like to add in the chat before we go back to Jody? Karen is saying, can't wait to do it with time to do it.
Way!
Yeah.
Super.
Okay, super. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Oh, and Rados is saying, love the fruit metaphor. Yeah, the passion fruit. Yeah,
yes.
That was a great choice. Marianne is also, she's adding, I immediately signed up for Orska with a big smile.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Karen is asking us, what is Orska?
Systemic coaching, right? Getting to the system approach, probably.
Okay.
That's what she meant.
Yeah, I guess is what does it actually stand for? The OR. We know it's the systemic coaching. Organization for Research of Systemic Coaching. I think it's something along those lines.
Okay.
Ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at, well, what tips and ideas can you give us to help break down and secure, to actually secure the bricks in place?
Well, since we're trying to keep it simple and trying to give you kind of a simple recipe that I use, I want to just share with you what I use before we go in a breakout. With a client, I always go back to this nice formula. What are your talents and your skills? What are your passions and your values? And that helps to define the purpose. So I start with that simple formula. And then I remind them what each of those mean, because sometimes we can, confuse them. So I go back to the definition, meaning the talent skills are like a special ability compared to somebody else that generates positive results. A passion is really a very keen interest. You could spend all day reading about it or hearing about it. And values being your guiding force. When your values are compromised, you feel off-kiltered. when you honor your values, it gives you a nice direction. So we go over this basic, what is passion? What is my purpose ultimately made up of? And then I send them to one of two places for the first part of the variable. If they need to know more about, I don't really know what my talents are, I don't really know what my skills are, I send them to one of two resources. Go online and do the Indeed Career Guide. They've got a nice little quiz on there for you to do. Or we do the Gallup's Clifton Strengths Finder. I'm also a certified coach in Gallup. And we do a test on that. And they identify their strengths to help build on the bricks of their foundation. Then as far as passion, if they can't remember, some people can't remember what they're passionate about. They've been busy so long or been in that hamster wheel so long they don't remember. Again, two resources that I give them. The Passion Test, great book that helps them. And then this other nice quiz. When I told you I've been inspired by Oprah for most of my life, she's got this cool, great quiz that you can take for free online. And there's the link. I send them to that, either or, and they come to their next session having done some homework. And you can have my slides too, by the way. So if anybody's frantically writing, I'm happy to share with you these findings. And values, I go back to two resources. This is a really fun one about value cards on the left, which you've got a lot to choose from, and it helps you hone down. And then one of my favorite current writers right now and inspiring people is Brené Brown. And in her book, Dare to Lead, she's got this nice page that has a bunch of values on it that I also refer my clients to her book and to these values. So they use one of these resources for each variable. We talk about a success wall where we don't forget their tangible successes and their intangible successes, again, to build their firm foundation picture of past and present. And so this is kind of the homework that they do and they work on. And then they come back and then we get started on where they're trying to project for tomorrow. So those are my tips of what I use to make it simple, to break it down into something that is understandable to the person we're coaching. And yeah, I think you're on mute, Marina. I can see you. I can see you're smiling.
Excuse me. So what about letting our participants meet up?
Would love it. I think it'd be really fun for everybody to kind of exchange in a small group. Yeah.
We are back.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I heard people saying that they had tools which were similar, or that they used something part of that. So I was in a room where it was completely philosophical, and another room with ladies. So the men were philosophical, and the room with just ladies. They were completely in the pragmatic, how do we use this? Where do we do it? Oh, you do that. And how do you use it? It's just,
really interesting. I just had I was in one group, and something that came up that I thought was really interesting is one of the things we can do with our clients, if you're a coach, is just to help them dust off some of these bricks that maybe they haven't used in a long time. Before we even start talking about, do I need another brick? I thought that was really really powerful insight. If we're just always adding to our foundation and we're forgetting about some of these bricks that could be used that we don't use, and a lot of times if we say to people, I don't feel fulfilled right now, maybe it's because we forgot about some of our values, some of our talents, some of our strengths, some of our passions, and we just need to dust them off. That was excellent insight. Yeah, that was really interesting. So, I see Ben. Ben, thank you for being here. because my boat is coming to take me. Now that is when you know you're not sitting where I'm sitting right now. There's no boat coming to take me anywhere from where I'm sitting. That's fun. Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Let me just put the slides back up really quickly, and we're coming down to, coming down to having some feedback on what people experienced and lessons learned, and anything anybody wants to share that came up for you in the chat, just thinking about the model and thinking about your own resilience and your own superpowers. See what comes up in the chat. Anybody? Everybody's quiet.
Well, I'm going to share, Jody, that I was in 2 rooms. The first one I went into was a completely philosophical discussion, was well underway. And the second room that I went into, it was completely pragmatic about how do we use this? How do we use it with our, which parts do we already know? Here's Annette.
Yes.
Jody, do you see the chat?
Let me
From
see the
Annette?
chat. I can open it up. Annette, that I tend to forget my skills and value them. Absolutely. And Karen, I love the latter just said about dusting up old bricks. Me too. Regarding In Touch. Me too. And forgetting. I think many of us forget. And maybe that's one of the lessons learned we take too. In order to be able to help others find theirs and honor their own, I think it starts with us as well. If we're not doing the exercise to celebrate where we've come from and where we want to go, it's really hard to do that with others if it's, not clear for us. So yeah, the feeling of strength when thinking of my foundation, the bricks might not be used all the time, but I always have the opportunity to bring the brick. Absolutely. We can always go back and dig into our foundation and pull it out again if we're feeling like we're looking for purpose. Absolutely. I think that's true. Absolutely. So yeah, well, yeah, that's pretty interesting when we get back to basics about resilience and trying to keep resilience accessible to us. Some of the bricks need to be flexible, and we can make different stacks of bricks depending on current purpose or point in life. Yes. Some bricks seem to have other forms than bricks. Yes. And even if we think about Legos, we're going to make this model, putting these Legos together, and now we want to make something different, and we're going to use different pieces. That's for sure. The foundation we can use all of it. We can use some of it. Have you seen any difference between men and women using the bricks? I can say that what I do find between men and women, the men, it's harder for them to look at this intangible success. When I did the success wall and we talk about intangible things we've learned about ourselves, or for them, it's much more, I say in general, not all men, but in general, they can go to their technical skills they have and the experiences they had and their degrees. A little bit more work for us to dig into what did you learn about yourself as a person, intangible successes. And women, many times we go there maybe quicker, or it's a more natural exchange initially. So that's something that I see a little bit of a trend there. And yeah. So let me see something about, where to go from here. Anything you want to say, Marina, before we get on to the...
No, it was just to wrap up the chat session there. If there was anyone who had would like to share anything or question before we go on.
A nice one from Dennis. We see the world not as it is. We see the world as we are. And we think everybody has skills as we have, but that's not true. That is really the power of celebrating the difference, and that's where our strength comes from. how is our foundation different from somebody else? And wow, thanks for saying that. That was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really, really thought-provoking when I think about it, and how we believe because we're good at this, it's no big deal. And then you talk to someone else who doesn't have that talent at all, and they're like, that is a big deal. That is not easy what you do. And you're like, what? This is easy, you know, this is normal. It's not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Jody, you brought up this interesting image here. What are you going to tell us about the tips about reinforcing? Oh, hang on, we've got something from Karen. I can see too that you really have to connect with your bricks. Otherwise, they're just they're just empty words, hence the need for time to build it. Yes, Karen, thank you for that.
And the cement, when we see this picture here too, how do we cement them together so that they make sense? And that's maybe where in my model, that second stage where we can put our finger on when I use most of my bricks, what kind of wins am I getting, or how will I see in a very concrete way that I'm using most of my bricks. And that takes some time when we work with our client to put our finger on how will I know that most of my base is coming up? How will I know? Yeah, and how can I cement that together in a way that has purpose and it's coherent, and you know, makes some sense, definitely. And I love the picture of this flower that is coming through regardless. And if we talk about resilience and coming out stronger after the pandemic, not just getting out of the pandemic, but coming out stronger, I think this flower represents that. We can break through something difficult, and actually our quality of life can be even better if we celebrate where we've come, how far we've come, and where we're trying to go. And I know that sounds cliche, but I really believe that we can all come out stronger. And you know, maybe some next steps about superpowers is not to forget to celebrate your brick by brick foundation and how broad it is today. And someone brought up in one of the subgroups that maybe some people don't seem initially like they have that many bricks. And that's where I feel our value added as a coach is to help them dig deeper and realize that they have way more many bricks than they imagined. And that boosts them and gives them, you know, some momentum to own their superpower. The next thing about making it stick is daring to write down a bold challenge. If you write it down and you put it somewhere where you can see it, a lot of famous people that have made pretty famous, interesting discoveries or achievements, they many times admit they wrote it down and put it somewhere they could see it and dared to put it on a piece of paper. So for everybody to make it stick is write it down and then figure out if you need another brick, or as you mentioned today, do you just need to dust some bricks off? What does that look like? What does your plan look like to either dust them off or add another brick to your foundation? And the third part that I believe is the systemic approach. If you think about people that could benefit from their brick by brick foundation, try out the method on them, and you helping others see their power in them. I think collectively we are more resilient as a community and as humans if we're not just doing the work for ourselves to broaden our foundation and to use it and to dream bigger, but us trying to identify how you are special, somebody else is special and unique, and help them realize some of the bricks that they have that maybe they didn't know was special, didn't realize that combination was special. I think that's really, I think it helps all of us feel like we're contributing in some way that's for the better, for the good of the people.
I'm hearing that this is really a way of throwing light onto a different perspective that often we forget that we can't see the back of our heads. We need someone else to tell us what's going on there.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. And you know, another point that maybe comes up that's powerful is having somebody else look at what you come up with. Because you'd be so surprised when you write your own foundation, what other people see in you. You forgot that, and you forgot that when, and it helps your brick by brick model be even more secure and complete. So yeah, that's another idea, is to get kind of a 360 view of, if you were doing my brick by brick model, what would it look like? Oh, let's compare. And yeah.
Well, great. Thanks, Jody, for this very interesting slide here on, our superpowers and, the brick by brick building of that. We've had a number of questions and comments during the session, but I wonder if anyone would like to add something else to the chat, or unmute yourself and ask something directly to Jody.
Nice idea. I'm just going to put my contact information if anybody would like to talk more about it.
So Judy, go ahead and show us your visiting card there. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, you're so welcome. I guess what I wish for everybody is that everybody feels more comfortable to revisit their purpose, and that just taking a step back today and thinking about themselves, that's given them a new opportunity to say, I think I've got more to my foundation than I admit. And I think there's something I want to achieve. And if I use all of my uniqueness, I'll be able to achieve it. And that maybe even I want my foundation to grow. I hope for everybody that you just had a little moment of, being able to reflect on where you're at today, and what would bring you a lot of joy and fulfillment for tomorrow. And I'm really happy to meet with people or to talk more about it. If anybody wants to contact me, please feel free to reach out. And I also wish for you that you're able to spread some of this to other people, so that they too can feel their superpowers and unleash some of the superpowers that they maybe forgot about, to bring some resilience.